Hello and welcome to DVB Vox Pop, a podcast featuring voices from Generation Z.
We are your hosts, Nyingsu
and Duya.
Tune in every week to hear young people share their personal stories
and how they hope to achieve a future democratic Myanmar,
free from military dictatorship. To listen, follow DVB English in your podcast app.
DVB Vox Pop is available wherever you get your podcasts. Hey, I'm Thiri. For this week's episode, I'm here with Thiri, a young restaurant owner who is planning to open another restaurant in Thailand. Hi, Thiri. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Thiri. Yeah, thank you for having me today.
Can you briefly introduce about yourself and what brought you here in Thailand?
I ran a restaurant in Yangon, and so that's my background. And I moved to Thailand after the coup, like a year after the coup, and given the situation in Myanmar, so I decided to leave the country and trying to see new opportunities, a business opportunity in Thailand.
I know you've owned a restaurant in Yangon. I've been there a couple of times. How did you manage to run a restaurant like such a young age?
Actually, that's a funny story because I went out with my friends and then I got drunk, and the next thing that I know is that I happened to buy a share of a restaurant, and since then I was like, okay, yeah, this is a good thing, and I have never intended to run a restaurant, but I was like, I just want to try new things, so I did, and it worked out well to some extent, so I continue following this path.
When you open a restaurant, like I know you face a lot of difficulties, like such as like COVID pandemic and also the coup. So how did you manage to survive to stay running a restaurant in Yangon?
So when I took it over, the restaurants, it was in 2019. So I only have only a few months, like I think only 6 months to run at a normal pace. And so I was trying to change the business concepts and trying to a little bit shift off the business models and everything and bring in the new recipes and etc. So only like for 6 months I could run at the normal time, but also it was the beginning of my business, so it was a challenging times and learning time for me. And then the pandemic happened, so we have a lot of on and off period during the whole year because the regulation they were not clear, and also there was no intervention from the government in terms of the subsidies and anything. So it was a very difficult moment, and plus we have staff and we have to make sure that our staff got paid or they have enough job. Also, we didn't even know how long it will take, so we couldn't really make a long-term plans and something. So that was during the coup, that was during the pandemic. A lot of ups and downs, and then towards the end of the third wave, we see some kind of hope, and we were like, okay, yeah, let's start over. We're so ready to jump into the business. Everyone was super excited and okay, let's focus more on this. And then the coup happened, which is such a shocking blow to a SME business, small and medium business owner, because we don't have a lot of investment in it, and we also didn't know how long would that long, and also given the histories of Myanmar, once there is a coup, it will take forever. It will take many years. So it was a lot of uncertainties and a lot of challenges, not only in terms of financially, not only in terms of the management perspective, also from the mental perspective, that not just only yourself but also a team that when you run a business, you're leading a team, and so it's a lot of challenges and coming from different direction. So that was a difficult period for the past 2 years.
When the coup happened, how do you feel as a restaurant owner, and how did you manage to run your restaurant during the coup?
So the beginning, I wasn't sure whether we would continue or not. Also, I don't know what will be the new regulation, and given a lot of protests and a lot of movement happening around the country and also around in our cities and everything. So and so the beginning, like my staff and also myself, they also wanted to join. They want to go out and support the resistance. So we have to make it flexible for everyone to practice their rights to express their opinion. So we did at the beginning, we managed to like close the restaurants during the day where people can go out and join the protest if they wanted to, and only in the evening we will open it. So the beginning wasn't really, we were not quite certain, where we was just with so much stress and also so much fear. One, would the soldiers gonna come and close the bar, and when are they gonna come and raid to the restaurants, and a lot of stress around that area. But then the beginning, it was the public movement was super strong, and like so the fears and this uncertainty a little bit like going down. Like we just say, okay, this is a good thing. Even though there is a coup, even though there is a movement, even though there is a protest, I could still run the business. We still have customers, and they stay calm, and they still support our business. But things will getting harder in the later period when the crackdown is more serious. So there were times that we also have to close, and we have to see the situation because nobody really know what was happening, what would happen. So it was a challenging time, especially when the security forces going around. They have a checkpoint in front of our restaurant, so a lot of customer wouldn't come, and it's been going on and off like that for many for a month. And also the exchange rate is really high up, and so we couldn't really get the banking system is quite collapsed. So we have difficulty whether we should take the cash or while we cannot really do the banking system. So we have a shortage of cash flow, and also we have a difficulty with the banking systems, and we have a difficulty with buying the supplies, especially if they are from the foreign country, and price will go really higher up. So especially like last year, we couldn't even have a price on our menu because the income and also the supplies and everything, they are quite fluctuated, and we couldn't really control. Like even if we can sell something with this price today, and then the next day this amount will be, we don't make profit, but it will be going back to the business. So it's just like barely surviving, and we have been spending a lot of money in the operation costs and a lot of new safety measures and everything. So it was very challenging time. It has been challenged since the pandemic because we have to put more costs for the hand sanitizers and the masks and a lot of other facility to prevent ourselves and our staff and our customer from the pandemic and from the coup as well. Like we have to consider a lot of the security measures, and every time when we have to consider that, the cost is higher up, and then we don't make much profit out of it. So it was a very challenging time. Until today, it's such a very challenging time for us to run a business, especially when we don't have enough money to invest in it.
You mentioned about the security checkpoint, like they're checking your customers. So how did you manage to get usual customer to come to your restaurant?
I couldn't, because there's something beyond my control, so we couldn't. So we will advise people to be more cautious because they wanted to come to our restaurants, which I really appreciated. But at the same time, I don't want anybody to be at risk just to come. So I have to make sure. We also have curfew, and I have to make sure that people go home before curfew, not only for the customer but also for my staff. Especially, I have to look after my staff first. That's my first thinking. So I couldn't really control, because those are the things that are out of my control. So I will only advise, like, hey, here we have a checkpoint. Sometimes we will send the messages to people like, hey, be careful when you're coming to the restaurants. We have checkpoint here, and so that kind of thing. I would advise them not to take any risk, because it's not worth to, come to a restaurant and you got arrested and something. So that, yeah, I couldn't control.
Do you have to negotiate with the police or the military to run your restaurant? Is there any security check to your restaurant by the police or military?
So far, not yet. We do not understand why, and maybe, I don't know, it's not happening yet. Maybe, we hope not. But so in terms of negotiation, we didn't do that because they never come to us. That's why we didn't need to.
When did you decide to leave Myanmar? Is there any difficulty to leave your restaurant? How did you manage to run your restaurant from here?
When I decided to leave, I couldn't leave right away. I was in the country for 1 year, because some of the days I feel like, okay, this is not safe anymore for anybody, so I should leave. But some of the day I just feel like, okay, things are not that bad, so I'm gonna stay. So it's a lot of back and forth and a lot of emotional disputes whether I should leave the country or not, because it's being away from home. It's a very it's an emotional choice that in a normal time I would have choice to either to come back at any time or not come back. But because of the situation, the choice was taken away from me, that even if I wanted to go back, I may not have it. I may not be able to have that choice to go back home. And also, I was also worried what would people say about this, like, oh, you don't have any direct threats or anything, and why did you leave? But then now I'm thinking that it was like, sometimes, when people look at the displacement, they only look at the people who are directly impacted by this, like, and until people are impacted by that, their displacement is not considered as a legitimate displacement. But for our cases, that it's not that we have a direct threat to me, but things around me and the understanding that the threat would come to me at any time, any moment, that's actually makes me leave the country. And that was very difficult for me, to leave my family and my business and my friends and my customers, my stuff. And it was very difficult because that restaurant is like my child, and I have built it up, and I have seen the ups and downs, and we have been spending time together, like in a difficult time and also the golden time together. And leaving that, it's a very emotional it's very emotional thing, and it was a very difficult decision to make. So when I left, I was thinking of leaving just for 6 months or something, but I ended up more than 1 year that I am already outside of the country. So that was it. And then since I got to Thailand, I couldn't really manage the restaurants from here because it's challenging, and plus I'm not on the ground, so it's very difficult. Sometimes whatever I suggested, something that people on the ground may not be able to keep up with, so I couldn't really manage. So now that we actually sold the restaurants to another owner, which is again very a difficult choice. I even cried the day when I spoke to the new owners and everything. So the business will be there, but I won't be part of that business in Myanmar.
Wow, that's really great that you overcame all of it. And also, I'm really sad to hear that you sold your restaurant to another owner. You mentioned you wish to open another restaurant in Thailand, so do you have any difficulty facing with the Thai authorities?
I am thinking of running a branch or running that restaurants in Thailand. But in term of actually running a business here in Thailand, the regulation is quite strict, and for foreigners and especially for Burmese people. And so there are a lot of regulation. They need a Thai partner to run a business, and there are a lot of regulation around, and also with the visas and everything, and investors. So I am now looking for the investor or the partnership to have a business together. But again, I haven't really decided it yet, mostly because of my commitment. Because at this moment, my status in terms of immigration status and also my life, it's a bit uncertain. So I just want to make sure that I wanted to stay in Thailand. I'm not sure if I actually wanted to live in Thailand for longer term, because running a business is not just, let's just do it and then let's move to another country, and that's not how it should work. So I was trying to reflect myself, like whether I actually want to commit to running a restaurant or whether I want to commit to living in Thailand. So only then, once I settle with my own mental dilemma, I'm gonna start running a restaurant, a branch of that restaurants in Thailand. So going back to your question, so I am thinking of doing it, but it may or may not actually happen.
Let's say you got an investor for your restaurant and like everything fine with the Thai authority. What kind of foods and drinks will you be served to customer? Like I'm just wondering.
It will be the one that we sell in Yangon, because the restaurants in Yangon has been, my understanding is that it has been an important place. It has been a home to a lot of people who are in the exile community in Thailand, and also a lot of my customers are in the jungle or even inside the country. They're hiding, and some of them are in prison. Some of them already got killed, and a lot of them are in exile, like not only in Thailand as well. So it has been my understanding is that it has been a home to a lot of people. So rather than food or anything, it will be the same food and similar food and similar drink, but I just wanted to bring some part of home to all of us while we couldn't go home, while we are away from home. So it won't be exactly the same as it is, because you have to be there to enjoy, to experience it, but a lot of people cannot go there for whatever reason, for many reasons, and mainly because of the coup. And so I just wanted to bring some pieces of home, some memories, some community. That's what I wanted to bring to Thailand.
Yeah, it will be great if you open a restaurant in Chiang Mai. How do you feel about the future of Myanmar? I mean, you're here in Thailand, and then like you're planning to move to another country, maybe or maybe not. So what do you think about the future of Myanmar?
The future of Myanmar, which I believe that the resistance, we are gonna win for sure, but I just don't know when, and I just don't know who's gonna be there to witness it. Like some of our friends may not be, or even myself may not be there to see when the resistance got a victory, but I believe that we're gonna win. So ideally, the future that I want to see is that all of us here go home and having nice foods and drinks and talking about our experience from wherever they were during the resistance, and we will have a long table at my restaurants in Yangon. And then everyone enjoying foods and drinks and chatting, gossiping, so like playing games, singing, and yeah, that's the future that I would want to see, like one day in Yangon, like going back to my restaurants, all of us, me and my friends and my customers, and celebrating our resilience and celebrating our living and celebrating our bravery, celebrating our standing up for injustice. So that's the future that I want to see.
That is really touching. I hope like you, me, and all of us together here can go back to where we were before the coup. Do you have anything to add? Would you like to add anything?
So I don't want to go before the coup, the situation before the coup. So when I say home, when I say future, I really want to move forward, because we have ugly histories in Myanmar with the, we have the genocidal histories, and we have the discriminatory policies and everything. So I generally don't want to go back to the Myanmar, even though it was a very good time for people like me who may be socioeconomically privileged. It was a good time, golden time for me, but that's not the home that I want to go back to. We are building a new home where we have more more understandings and more tolerance and more visions and more creativities and less discriminatory, and that people have more empathy. So that kind of future, that kind of home that I want to go back to, like go forward to. So
I'm really appreciate for your time. It's really nice to talking with you, and thanks again for being here with me.
Thank you.
Na you bia me o si long zwan ne be a kong sing kho de oh yeah yeah ni de tao ti ne nga do we shwe the ma da February 第1年了，你想忙带天天蹲下比爱他妈谁还能怎样？忙碰个看面追，你就说我妈妈逞强，当狗呀，现在心一看了没有？黑他来的美马，像真上我们拼不的眼睛，还我的眼给难，妈妈洗的谁？俺现在我起来不就满是贼么高？Generation Z 人家呢，你按年洗的家了，记得的你也面这个，第三看见的下面来，对全家谁个比上路妈妈占米，对么多结果一路不熬夜米哈，老爸没理嘿，干嘛不去见面的俺他心是那个三斤不多送我哈心对没？你们你那ထွက်ခဲ့ကြအားလုံးလမ်းပေါ်ကိုအာနာယူနေတဲ့လူလူစုကိုဖုံးမရဲမို့တော့ပြည်သူစန္ဒာကိုကဘာတီအောင်ပြမယ် We want justice ချမ်းသာမလို့ဘူးမင်းတို့ကြိုက်တာလောက်ကွာရတဲ့ခန္ဓာကိုယ်တွေကကိုယ်တွေတားတွေစုပတ်ထွက်နေပြီငါတို့မျိုးဆက်ကတော့ Democratic ငတ်နေပြီနောက်လာမယ့် generation မှာတော့ဒီလိုပုံစံမဖြစ်စေရလိုအပ်ရင်စစ်ပတ်ထွက်တိုက်ပြင်မယ်အားလုံးပြင်ထားသိနေထားတယ်ပြည်သူတွေဘာလုပ်နေကြတဲ့အာနာယူတွေကငါတို့မြေပေါ်လာရှုံနေကြတဲ့တွေးဆုံးခဲ့တဲ့နေတွေကိုကာဖုံးရမြကသစ္စာဆိုရင်ငါတို့ခင်မှာအာနာရှစ်တွေကြရှုံးသေးရမယ်အာနာရှစ်တွေကြဆုံးရကတော့ Democracy ပြန်လာရရှိရကတော့